Trust, at least in my eyes, has never been something you simply hand over like spare change. It's something that's earned, protected, and carefully guarded. When I slipped that ring onto Emily's finger and asked her to marry me, I truly believed we had built that kind of foundation. Nearly 3 years together, weathering storms and celebrating good times, finding a rhythm that felt completely ours. When she said yes, her eyes shining with tears, I thought I'd finally found my forever. But forever started falling apart in ways I could no longer ignore. Her phone, once casually left on the coffee table, suddenly became something she carried everywhere. Nights that once stretched into hours of laughter at home slowly became evenings spent with her friends. Girls' night out began rolling off her tongue with an ease that felt strangely suspicious. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that she was simply tired, maybe needing some time to herself. But then Thursday came. She told me she was meeting some old college friends. Just a few drinks, some harmless catching up. She kissed me quickly and disappeared upstairs to get ready, avoiding my eyes. I noticed every little thing. That night she believed I had plans of my own after a long work meeting downtown. What she didn't know was that fate had another way of putting the truth directly in front of me. My phone buzzed. It was Matt, the boyfriend of one of Emily's friends. His voice carried hesitation, as though he hated what he was about to tell me. They weren't at the bar they had mentioned. He had seen them instead heading toward the marina parking lot. My chest tightened, and my heartbeat seemed to pound inside my ears. I tried telling myself there had to be another explanation. But somewhere deep inside, I knew I wouldn't sleep until I saw the truth with my own eyes. 15 minutes later, I pulled into the marina. The parking lot was nearly empty, illuminated only by the weak glow of yellow street lamps. I searched for her car, and then something struck me harder than I expected. My old truck, the one I'd sold 6 months earlier, was sitting there in the shadows. Confusion raced through my mind until the truth appeared in the worst way possible. Emily stepped out of the passenger side, smoothing down her dress, her hair slightly too messy to dismiss. And there he was, Jason, casually leaning against the truck as though it belonged to him, as though she belonged to him. Jason. The man she had sworn 2 years earlier was nothing more than part of her past. The man she had promised me I never needed to worry about. My stomach tightened into painful knots. For a moment, neither of them noticed me. I stood beneath the lamp's weak glow, feeling every bit of warmth drain from my body. When Emily finally saw me, her smile disappeared. Her eyes widened, panic spreading across her face. Jason, however, simply smirked. I didn't yell, I didn't lose control. Instead, I walked toward them with a calmness that felt almost unnatural. My voice remained flat and steady. "Nice car," I said. "Looks familiar." Emily froze, gripping her purse as if it could protect her. Jason, wearing that same arrogant grin, spoke up. "We were just catching up. Old friends." "Friends," I repeated, my voice sharp as broken glass. 10:30 at night in the back of a truck. Emily tried convincing me to take the conversation somewhere else, but I refused to move. That's when everything finally became clear in my mind. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't one careless moment. It was a pattern. The secretive behavior, the late nights, the endless excuses, every piece had been leading toward this moment. I looked directly at her. "I'm not going anywhere. If you have something to say it right here." Jason leaned back against the truck once more, his smirk practically challenging me to react. I didn't. Instead, I spoke quietly. Things like this don't just happen. They happen because two people decide to make them happen. Emily's voice cracked. "Ryan, please, I made a mistake." I stopped her immediately. My words were cold. "You and I both know exactly what this is." Silence stretched between us, interrupted only by the sound of water hitting the docks. Somehow, it felt like the waves were mocking the moment, as if even they understood the truth. I could have exploded. I could have screamed, made a scene, demanded answers. Instead, I turned toward Jason. "You can keep the truck," I said calmly. "Seems like it fits you better." Then, I turned back to Emily and held out my hand. The ring slipped from her finger and landed in my palm. There were no words left between us. I walked away, every step feeling heavy, yet strangely freeing. The drive home felt like moving through static. Every lie, every sudden change, every excuse replayed over and over inside my head. I wasn't consumed by rage. What I felt was colder than anger, sharper than fury. By morning, her clothes and belongings were packed into boxes beside the front door. When she finally knocked, desperate and trembling, I opened the door just enough for her to see my eyes. My voice remained steady. "There's nothing to explain. You lied. You cheated. And with him of all people." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "It wasn't like that." But I didn't argue. I simply stepped aside and pointed toward the boxes. "Everything's there. Take it and go." She carried the boxes outside in silence, muttering under her breath, leaving behind nothing except the echo of what our life used to be. The weeks that followed blurred together. I buried myself in work, the gym, and anything else that could keep my thoughts from drifting back toward her. Then, one evening, a friend sent me a screenshot. Emily and Jason were smiling together in a Facebook post, the caption decorated with a heart. "Finally, where I was meant to be." I didn't respond. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I posted a picture of my new truck, paid for in cash. The caption was simple: upgrades all around. Not revenge, just moving forward. 2 months later, I heard that Jason had sold my old truck. Emily had already moved on again. And me? I didn't care. Because by then, I'd already rebuilt my life. I'd already cut the cord. I was no longer the man who would bend, break, and bleed for someone who didn't deserve it. That man was gone, and he's not coming back.